What's up, Bulls Nation, and welcome in to the CHGO Bulls Podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. We're coming to you live here from our West Loop Studios, downtown Chicago. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow Big Dave here at BAWL Sports. Will Gottlieb is at Won't Gottlieb. And making one of his regular appearances with us, it's our pal from down under, Mr. Mark K on Twitter at MK Hoops. What's up, Marky Mark?
Hey friends, how you going? Hopefully you have calmed down today, Matthew.
No, I'm still pissed about last night. Are you not?
This shirt changes. The hair changes color as far as the mood on the shirt. So that used to be like red before. Like, yeah, he's toned down a little bit, but it's still cautious.
So I was watching yesterday's show. I watch every show, even though I'm not on them all. I'm watching them all, and I'm glad I wasn't on last night. I was thinking about coming on yesterday's show, but I ultimately didn't. And it's probably a good thing because, Matt, when you were going on that rant yesterday, all I was doing was just laughing. So it's probably good I wasn't on because I would have been laughing at your face while you're getting angry. So it worked out for the best, I think, for everyone.
I did see your comment about something along the lines of like, who hurt this man and why is he taking it out on the Bulls? The Bulls hurt me. The Bulls hurt me last night, and I'm still reeling from it today. Yeah. That was kind of just a very disappointing, embarrassing, flat performance. Yeah. In case you missed it, be lucky that you did. The Bulls got blown out by 30 against the Milwaukee Bucks last night. So much for that momentum after the Toronto win. I mean, like, we talked in postgame last night about how it was just a couple of possessions that really started the Bulls reeling. With the Bulls, Billy making his first couple of substitutions. It was 20-20 with about 3.5 minutes left in that game. Yes. The subs start coming in. That key foul that has Connaughton at the line for 3 free throws. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, the end of the third quarter, the Bulls are down 13 after being tied 20-20 in the span of 3.5 minutes. And then the first 3.5 minutes of the second quarter, more of the same, the Bulls are down 20.
You know, I think what made it worse was one of the things we have been saying is the Bulls have been coming out flat against these teams. You know, especially talked about it during the Sacramento game, how flat they've been coming out and then trying to play catch up, you know, the rest of the time. This time they came out and Vooch, who has not been doing it like that, was on fire. You know what I mean? He was doing his thing, hitting his threes and his jumpers, getting his rebounds. He was looking good. Then he pulled him, and then we didn't see him again until, about 8 minutes or something left in the second quarter. And by that time, you know, the floodwaters had caved in, and it was just really sad at that point.
It was weird because, you know, the last few games, I've gone back and watched some film to try to figure out, like, what's going on with the offense specifically over these last few games. And Vooch has gotten off to a couple of hot starts where he, you know, just diving to the basket, getting easy passes for layups. And yeah, we credit Billy all the time for, you know, being flexible and trying things out with rotations. But that one was kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last 10 games, Vooch is averaging 19 points, 10 rebounds, shooting 50% from the field, 37% from three. So he's doing his thing as a third option.
Nobody is happier than Mark about it.
Exactly. The Vooch apologist is on today, at perfectly timed. But I mean, like, DeMar just hasn't been DeMar. We've talked about it before. Defenses are changing the way they're guarding him, and he's struggling through that. He's only about 45% from the field of late. Obviously, he's not going to turn up from a three-point perspective as well, but his free throw attempts are down as well. And we know Zach is sort of hot and cold based on his knee injury. So your two lead guys at the moment aren't performing necessarily like they were before, particularly DeMar, like where he was a top 5 MVP guy. Like, that guy's disappeared now, which is not unsurprising, but he's just settled back into regular all-star type level rather than superstar level, which we should have seen coming, I suppose. And we were always, I guess that was always a risk, but I guess it's here now, and the way teams are sort of gearing up and defending the Bulls is different. But to Will's point, it's really the offense that is stagnating at the moment. And like over the last 15 games, the Bulls are like, I think they're bottom 5 in offensive rating, and they're like 20th in defensive rating. So it's, the defense isn't good, and it hasn't been good for a while, but it's actually the offense that's stumbling right now, which is causing the Bulls problems.
Hey, everybody.
Dennis
that's going
Rodman
above and
energy
beyond. That's
diving on
hard
the
head
floor.
lunch pill. Right
It seems mean to say that DeMar has regressed because of everything he's done for the Bulls this season, but Mark is correct in that he's just kind of normal all-star DeMar instead of Super Saiyan DeMar.
Yeah.
And the Bulls needing him to be that ridiculous level of DeMar to win games is one of the reasons why they have stopped winning games. I thought DeMar had some interesting comments after the loss last night when he was kind of asked about, you're a vet, you've been around a long time, you've been on teams that have made deep playoff runs. Are your teammates in that Bulls locker room starting to figure out what exactly it takes to be an elite team and to be an elite team to beat the other elite teams in the league? Joey, do we have that quote from DeMar, that graphic we can take a look at? I thought it was fairly telling. Understanding what it's going to be like, and even tougher come the playoffs. We're going through it right now. What you call battle wounds, battle scars, we're kind of taking them all on the chin right now. It's going to show us what we're made of. I mean, wise words from a guy who's been a Hall of Fame caliber player in the NBA for a decade plus. It doesn't necessarily give me, a Bulls fan, a vote of confidence that whatever is missing in that locker room for them to not fold like they did in Milwaukee last night is something that's going to change between now, the remaining 10 games of the regular season, and hopefully a playoff series.
For me, I keep kind of saying this, like, you can't really skip steps in the progress, man, in the process of what they're going through. Nobody really knows how to win yet on this team. DeMar DeRozan, Caruso, Tristan Thompson. There you go. Those are your guys who have seen winning and are used to doing it. And been there, done that several times. Everybody else, including Lonzo, is not used to it. So they're used to none of these games kind of mattering this late in the season. All of this is brand new to them. Winning streaks are new to them. You know what I'm saying?
Losing streaks are not.
Losing streaks are not. That's why they're in this comfort zone that we don't like, because that's where they're comfortable at, and that's why everybody's really confused about what's going on. But this is what their normal, sadly, has been. So that's what their default has been. You know what I'm saying? So it's a step in the process, man. They're going to take these, ups and downs and these bumps and bruises. But damn, it's the way that they're taking them that is alarming to everybody.
Yeah, that's what it is for me, is that, like, basically right now defenses are saying, okay, we're going to get the ball out of DeMar's hands and like literally anybody else beat us.
Right.
They're making that bet and they're winning because nobody else is putting the ball in the basket. And I think there's probably something, what you're saying, that like they just haven't had the mental struggles, the emotional, like try to figure this out as a group yet, where they just haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a problem they've like all acknowledged, that like once they figure this thing out, they'll be okay. They've seen how good they can be. And it kind of reminds me of how they struggled against zone early on in the season. I don't think they've like really figured it out, but
the Heat really showed that, early.
Once they did start to figure it out, teams have to stop doing that. And so, you would like to think they figure out how to beat these traps. It shouldn't be that difficult. It's like a fairly simple process where you dump it off and then Vooch makes a play. But for whatever reason, they're not able to do it. And I think it's getting in their head a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not shooting as well. They're not shooting as much. And that's just a huge problem.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with all this, to be honest with you. And I say that for a number of reasons. For starters, like DeMar can say whatever he wants there, but at the same time, he and Donovan were both complaining about the foul calls after the game yesterday, which fair enough. I understand half the fan base was doing the same as well. But to me, they kind of lost the game within the game. Like DeMar complaining about all these calls, complaining about the free throw disparity. Like you'd already lost at that point. Why are you complaining about the calls? And the same thing, like to DeMar's quote there, like if you're talking about learning to win, understanding what you're made of, we need to find out who we are before the playoffs and those sorts of things. Like DeMar had some truly egregious defensive plays in that third and fourth quarter. The one where, I mean, you guys referenced it on the show yesterday, but where Caruso was basically calling for the switch, DeMar just, for whatever reason, didn't switch back, and Grayson Allen got an uncontested layup. Like, I mean, that's just execution errors. So, like, that should have nothing to do with understanding who you are or not knowing how to play in big games or these sorts of things. Like, that's just basic execution stuff. So, I mean, they can talk that talk if they want. You know, every beat writer is talking about how the Bulls are 0-16 against the top 3 teams in each conference, which, you know, fair enough. But at the end of the day, to me, it's just like basic execution errors, which they shouldn't be making. And I don't know how you fix that. I don't think it's just purely an experience thing. There's been a lot of teams that, you know, have never really played in big games. Like, look at the Memphis Grizzlies, for example. Like, that's a new put together team that's far younger than the Bulls, and they're seemingly just running all over the league at the moment. So I don't know. I don't really buy that as an excuse, to be honest with you.
Me, those things
different, man.
Yeah.
Those things to me are linked together. Like, they're making these mistakes. Maybe it's a function of poor execution, but then they're letting it affect them on the next play.
Yeah.
And they need to turn that off.
Yeah.
Billy said it, or I can't remember if it was Billy or DeMar. Like, they need to be able to shut off these runs.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like snap out of it, get to the next play. And I mean, DeMar's doing it too, so it's not just a young player thing.
Right.
Where like, you got to stop complaining. Like, you got to take your lumps in the middle of a game and just be like, okay, let's go execute on the other end and chip back into this game. Like, I was saying it last night while we were watching. Keep chipping away. You're down 15, get it to 12, get it to 10. Like, they're letting this spiral out of control. And I think that is, I don't know if it's like, maybe it's not an experience thing, but it's just like an immaturity thing to me.
Yeah. And I don't think that execution and effort, when we're talking about those two things, are necessarily mutually exclusive, and that they kind of, you know, are a gray area that sometimes overlap. That's kind of what you were talking about just now, Will. Mark, you mentioned that one Caruso play that had him frustrated, which was the first of 2 Grayson Allen layups late in that game that damn near had my head explode. Caruso also had some interesting thoughts post-game, and his were kind of framed in a way of, we actually don't struggle with these certain things at home all that well. At home, we're good. When we go on the road for whatever reason, we have problems with execution, and then execution leads to effort. Do we have that quote from Caruso also, Joey, that we could take a look at? I mean, it's because he talks about execution here, and he talks about the fact that this team mentally is just not ready for some of these games against elite competition. You've got to know what you're in for. You've got to be ready for things not to go your way and respond. Whether it's settling for the easy route on offense, not competing enough on defense, in little instances like box outs, one-on-ones, forcing catching out farther, getting covers right. You want to win on the road. You can't mess any of them up. We're messing too many of them up. That's a high basketball IQ guy right there telling you, rattling off a numerous amount of specific execution problems, but they're execution problems that stem from a lot of things that are about effort. And that's the really frustrating compounding issue to me.
Yeah, and what also is driving me crazy is those turnovers also that they're making, because they're not turnovers because of the great defense another team is playing. They're just simply, I can't dribble the ball up the court right now. You know, we see Zach LaVine, you know, he's dealt with that a lot. You know, that's a given. Kobe White, that turnover he had yesterday where he just basically threw it out of bounds for no reason, it was just absolutely crazy to me. The hot potato they were playing when Vooch was throwing, that one crazy sequence, it just like a hot potato going around, and we didn't end up with the ball. They did, and they ended up scoring. It's those kind of things that compound it, and kind of what Marquez is saying, like, those are the things you control. That has nothing to do with it. That's just them. You know what I mean? Those are mistakes that are simple that they are making. That's just 2 + 2 is 4, and they can't figure out that equation yet.
Yeah, and I've been harping on it for a while. It's like they need to treat all these games like it's the last 5-6 minutes of a close game. They come out, and that's why Caruso has been starting these last 2 games. That's what Billy has said, is like, we need him to like get us going from the jump.
Yeah.
But they're still not executing, and I think it's just perfect quote from Caruso there. It's like, it's not just like play a good game. It's like every single possession has to be executed.
Right.
And that is like the mental stuff that DeMar struggles with.
Yeah.
And like, there's nobody really on the team other than like maybe Tristan who's going to like tell DeMar, dude, figure it out.
Right. I mean, like, I last night and then again this morning couldn't help but think of Bulls legend Norm Van Leer. What would he always say when he was rocking pregame and postgame? 48 minutes
of intensity.
There you go. Intensity.
Yes.
And look, we have seen the Bulls put together a 48-minute effort, 5 times, maybe 8 times in the span of 72 so far? And Mark, you always talk about margin for error for this team and the fact that it is pretty darn narrow.
Yeah.
You cannot get away with playing for a half. You cannot get away with hanging your head because you've missed a couple of shots in a row or come up empty on offense a couple of possessions in a row and let it affect your defense. This team is not talented enough to get away with that, and yet they still come out flat or have flat stretches like they did last night where half the guys on the floor look like they're playing at 6.5 out of 10. And that's bullshit to me. That's inexcusable to me.
Yeah, look, no, I can't argue with that. I guess what's frustrating for me as well is coming back to the execution point. Like, I would argue the Raptors game was more important in terms of the whole seeding perspective. Yes, the Bucks game was a back-to-back. It was a game against the defending champs, a game against a top 3 team who the Bulls have struggled with all season. So I'm not discrediting the Bucks game or its value or its importance, but like that Raptors game had a ton of weight on it from a pure seeding perspective. And the Bulls in that third and fourth quarter just executed so well on defense. So, like, we know they can do it. I don't want to say they got it done there because it was at home versus being in Milwaukee. Like, Milwaukee's basically home anyway. So, like, I don't want that to be an excuse for the team. So we've seen that they can execute. We've seen them run, really sound defensive possessions. I don't know why they crumbled against the Bucks yesterday. Like, against Toronto, they were brilliant in those defensive possessions. So, I don't know what the answer is, but we've seen them execute when they need to, but then sometimes they just mentally crumble for whatever reason. I don't know why that is.
I think, like, this is just a guess, but, like, they've won so many close games. DeMar's clutch numbers this year are, like, just absurd. I don't have them off the top, but he's, like, obviously won 2 games for the Bulls in the final seconds, and you can probably tack 4 or 5 more onto that.
Sure.
Like, is there a sense of, we know we can win these games if we just keep it close, and so we'll just kind of hang around, and then in the fourth quarter, the last 6 minutes, whatever it is, they'll turn it up. But, like, in games like last night, they just they couldn't even get there.
Yeah.
So why are you waiting? This is the point in the season where, like, every possession matters, and they can't, like, to me, it is more of an execution than effort thing, because, like, guys are going to go out there and try hard, or, like, try within some standard deviation of, like, the same amount. But, like, if you're not focusing and channeling that effort into executing every single possession, they're going to keep losing these games.
Execution matters. But we got people in the comments, Todd Packer, shout out Todd Packer, saying teams aren't scared of this diva team. The word around the NBA is that if you bully the Bulls, they will fold. I don't want to beat a dead horse with this, but I am starting to be concerned that this is a team full of nice guys. You know what they say about nice guys, right?
What's that?
They finish last.
Hey.
But I mean, it was really fun for the first half of this season to see all of those bromance moments between Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan.
Sure.
How happy they were.
Sure.
DeMar DeRozan is even somebody who's talked openly in the NBA and got that ball rolling about mental health and the fact that he's struggled with depression, all these, and he has felt and expressed as much that he's genuinely happy playing for the Bulls this season. Zach LaVine is genuinely happy for the first time since he came to Chicago, for the first time in his NBA career, because he's got a decent enough squad to win more games than he's losing. At least there's a baby step there in Zach LaVine's happiness.
Yeah.
But happy only gets you so far. And I'm sorry, the way that the Bulls just tucked their tails between their legs last night when they were getting embarrassed by the Bucks like that. You talk about the goon factor, Big Dave. We thought maybe Tristan would add some of that, but other than that silly herky-jerk shit with Ibaka and maybe, one other instance since he's been coming on board, that's not just one guy. You need a team to have some collective nasty in them. Shout out Greg Popovich. I want some nasty. This Bulls team, we love the smiles because none of us have smiled for 5 freaking years.
Actually, me.
But I need some nasty.
Yeah. I love that, and I completely agree with that. It's a necessary thing in the NBA to have that kind of mentality and to have at least one of those or two of those players with that mentality. You can't really name me too many great teams that don't have that mentality. I mean, you can even look at the Phoenix Suns. Like, those dudes are execution. Those dudes are finesse. But those dudes are nasty, too. CP3 starting it off. You know what I mean? He's a bulldog. Jay Crowder, JaVale McGee, Biyombo. Oh, my God. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they got. That's who they are. Miami Heat, from top to bottom, they're full of them. Milwaukee.
Heat culture.
You know what I mean?
Heat culture.
Heat culture, yes. Oh, my God, yes. That's the culture there, yeah. You need that thing. And I'm glad you said that about Tristan, because now it's lip service to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard him talking crazy, talking that tough. You know what I'm saying? But as I tell you all the time, Matt, saying ain't like doing. You know what I mean? Like, he can talk it all he want, but he couldn't walk that yesterday. And we needed some walking, you know what I'm saying, yesterday. And we did not see that at all. I'm doing it against Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, we saw it in the fourth quarter.
No, bro, that's not walking, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's crawling.
That was the dumbest moment
It was the silliest thing.
The game.
It did nothing. Yeah. It meant nothing. But you need that on this team, man, especially a team of guys who are showing you, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, we're nice, you know what I'm saying? We're camaraderie, all that. You need somebody to protect them a little bit. Like, kind of like Kurt Thomas was the same way when Derrick Rose was here. It's that same kind of thing. Yeah. You need that stuff. And people who want to call it meathead stuff, I dare you to name some of your favorite Bulls from the 2000s without saying Joakim Noah Times Gibson. I dare you. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You need those tough guys in there, man. That mentality has to be. I'm not saying they got to be dirty. You know what I mean? You don't have to go punch somebody in the face like that, but you have to set the tone. Like, yo, you are not coming in here doing that to us. We don't go for that.
Any thoughts to add on that, Mark?
Disagree. Yeah, I hate this trope so much. If there's one thing that like really fires me up, it's this idea that you need to have goons or you can't be a nice guy team or anything like that. And like, who was the goon on those Spurs team? Like, they played hard, they played well, they played smart, but were there any crazy dudes out there being, you know, goons, so to speak? Like, I know Tristan Thompson was maybe meant to be that here, but I don't buy that at all. To me, like, it's all about your talent level. It's all about who you are as a team and your skill level, your execution. And Matt, you referenced this before, but I keep coming back to it. Like, this margin of error thing, like that to me matters more than if you got some dude that's going to come in for 5 or 10 minutes and just, you know, throw some hands. Like, that to me doesn't really matter. Like the Bucks, let's take the Bucks, for example. Like, who is the goon on that squad that is going out there and being a real enforcer from a pure physicality perspective? Like, they got Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Like, those two are the most.
Sorry, Bobby Portis, former Bull. How disrespectful can you be,
that's
Mark?
A goon right there. He's called Crazy Eyes. Like, that's what he does.
His nickname is Crazy Eyes.
Don't even get me started.
What?
On Bobby Portis.
Oh man.
But I just don't believe in that trope at all. Like, I don't think that's the difference between the Bulls being, you know, within this game or being, you know, belted by 26 points. To me, that doesn't matter. I don't think that's, you know, even close to why they're losing these games. That doesn't matter at all to me, to be honest with you. Yeah,
for me, I'm not saying it like, okay, now that we have this goon, that means that we're going to be a team that teams have to take seriously. We're going to go deep in the playoffs and make that kind of run. No, I'm just talking about establishing the mentality. And when you come in here, listen, I watched Steven Adams pick up Tony Bradley and carry him off the court. You can't have that. That can't be a thing. You know what I mean? Especially here. And I know it might sound like that, but in Chicago, those people are respected, those kind of dudes. Yo, boy, Jimmy Butler is all about that. He's all about that kind of life, man. That's who he is, you know? You have to have those things here, especially here in the city. Like, the finesse and the execution will put them in the seats, but that kind of tough stuff will put you in their hearts. And that's what matters here in Chicago, man. Those people love that kind of thing. And it's a thing.
It also lets you stay closer and scrap closer in winnable games where your finesse, your gorgeous pop Spurs basketball execution, Mark, is not what's leading you to victory. Because look at this Bulls squad. Look at our roster. Bulls fans way overprojected after a strong start because of a soft schedule, and Herculean DeMar, to be more than what they were. But right now, looking at the reality, the Bulls are not a great team. They're a mediocre team. What does a mediocre team not have? Pops Spurs offensive execution. I saw, shout out for the great name, Spook Longley in the comments saying, did the Warriors have nasty? No, you know what they had? Maybe like one of the greatest collection of talents of NBA players in the history of the league. They can get away with being finesse, all finesse, and no nasty. The Bulls don't have enough talent and enough finesse to not have the nasty. That is my whole freaking point.
I'll tell you, Bruce Bowen and Steven Jackson, too, man. Them dudes was goons.
Draymond was nasty.
I think there's like an element of the Bulls. Like, I think it's good that they're poised in general.
Sure.
But and that they like to like think their way out of things. Mm-hmm. Like, I appreciate that. I think that's a very cool approach.
Okay.
But I think whether it's outward or inward, they need to have a mentality where, and it goes back to what we were just talking about, where they're strong-minded, strong-willed enough to say, okay, we messed up this execution. They got a backdoor layup. Okay, shut it off, on to the next play.
Right.
And I think that's like, that. It's not the same as just like being nasty outwardly, but it's like an element of mental toughness and awareness that I think they just haven't really had lately.
Right.
And I don't know if like having Tristan Thompson out there, hard box out, like coming in and get 6 fouls, whatever it is. I don't know if that solves the problem. I don't think it is, but I do think there's a problem right now with just the collective ability to have the next play mentality and like think their way out of things. Like if that's their calling card, which it was for the first 60 games of the season, they haven't been able to figure out traps. So what's next? They got to figure something out.
All right.
Okay. We want to talk about some more stuff, including the Bulls bench really did not help them out all that much last night, and that has been a bad trend for the Bulls all season long. So we'll talk about that next on deck. Plus, we have to get to a specific part of that Bulls bench discussion, which is our boy Mark. He wants to talk about Tristan versus Derrick Jones Jr. at that backup 5 spot. So we'll do that coming up too as well. Stick with us. But first, Big Dave, tell the people about the great fun at PointsBet. Would you please?
Oh, I got Luke Stuckmeyer on me, man. He came to me. That was one of the things he wanted to hit was the ad read. So here we go. We're going to do it right. Use that promo code CHGO when you sign up, y'all, because that is how you can support us here at CHGO. Use that promo code CHGO when you get that PointsBet app. And when you sign up, you will get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Did you hear what I said? $2,000. But that's not it. No. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you will receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of the web content, and you'll even get that free t-shirt and your choice from that CHGO locker. And again, that Chicago Sky one, that's my favorite. That joint is fire. That's $2,000 in free bets. Nice. A free CHGO membership and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making your $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. And also introducing PointsBet's new feature, live college basketball same game parlay. For that first time ever, you can build the perfect live same game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. And if you want more, and I know you do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. You can boost your live same game parlays. You can watch live, parlay live, boost live, and party live, all with PointsBet. And here in Illinois, you can just go ahead and sign up at home. That weather is nasty outside, all right? You can stay at home and download that PointsBet app right now and register from your account from start to finish, all from your phone. Plus, PointsBet March Madness, y'all. Match Madness. All users can earn up to $100 in free bets during each round. Just place a $50 pregame wager and get a free $5, $10, $15, $20 live bet to be used for that round. So what are you waiting for? Because once the game starts, you don't just bet. Tell them what you do, Mark K.
Oop it.
I have no idea.
Oh, it's right there. You live your bet life with PointsBet.
Yeah, you
Hit me,
do.
Joey.
Do it. Just do it.
Was that Joey or was that a clip?
Yes.
That was Shia LaBeouf, Mark. Come on.
I'm going to go with Joey. It's
That
better to say
sounded
it was
like
Joey.
Joey.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joey.
Do they not have PointsBet in Australia yet? Come on.
No, they have Tab
No, but
Sportsbook. Different.
Bro, it makes no sense for me to run with the tagline. I had to throw it back to Dave, who would deliver far better than I possibly could. You don't want me selling this thing.
Oh, no, I'm a passer, man. I'm a
You can't-
facilitator, Mark. You know,
You can't
everybody
use
got to
that
touch the
excuse,
ball,
Mark.
baby.
That's my excuse.
Well, it's true. It's true. Look, you got to know. I know my role. I'm a role player. Dave's a star when it comes to ad reads. Got to feed the stars when it matters.
Well, guess what? Good news. We got another new sponsor here at CHGO. This episode also brought to you by Strava Coffee, y'all. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel anxious? Hello? Jittery after you drink coffee? Yep, right here. Do you have trouble staying focused during the day or have trouble falling asleep at night? Me? All of the above.
Yeah.
Are aches and pains holding you back from enjoying your day to the fullest?
He's 60.
Good news. Strava Craft Coffee, fortified with broad-spectrum hemp-derived CBD, has already helped thousands of people to improve their overall quality of life by simply enjoying a delicious cup of Strava coffee. Strava Coffee is a premium CBD-infused coffee that's exclusively sourced and roasted from premium specialty-grade coffee beans. Doesn't that sound nice, Dave?
Does sound amazing.
The infusion of CBD adds so many benefits, like help with chronic headaches, joint pains. My left knee's been killing me recently because I fell off a ladder because I'm old, and much more. No coffee jitters. Again, if you want to drink 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, which I do.
Yes.
Feel less anxious throughout the day. Live with fewer aches and pains. Feel alert and focused without the jittery coffee feeling. Relax, de-stress after a long day. I have lots of those. I had one last night.
Yes, he did.
Enjoy a more restful sleep. We all need that. You can also subscribe and save with the Strava Coffee Club.
All right.
Strava's customized subscriptions mean you never have to buy coffee in-store ever again. It'll land on your doorstep every 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks, whichever one you prefer, and you'll receive 30% off your CBD-infused coffee every time you order if you sign up for that membership. Strava also offers CBD-infused decaf coffee to help you enjoy more restful sleep. I had one of their decaf cups last night after that tough Bulls game.
It's amazing.
Slept like a baby, y'all.
Oh.
Plus, full-spectrum CBD tinctures to get the maximum entourage benefits. Here's the best part. Strava roasts fresh and ships straight to your door.
What?
So, all you people out there in CHGO universe, save 25% off their entire purchase when you use promo code CHGO25. That's 25% off your order at StravaCraftCoffee.com when you use promo code CHGO25 at checkout. Discount coupon valid on non-subscription purchases only. Limit 1 per customer.
Oh, see, Mark, that's your star right there. That ain't
Yeah,
that's
look,
him.
I
It's
need to
Jordan
see
and
if they
Pippen
can
over
do-
here.
I mean, do they ship to Australia? I might need to get my hands on one of these things.
Yeah. Joey, they shipped to Australia?
If they don't, we'll send it to you ourselves, Mark.
Got that right.
Yeah, you can. Look, I'll hold you to that. That sounds pretty good. It sounds like an appealing product.
Yes, sir.
I've been drinking a few cups over the last week. I really like it.
I had some this morning. It was good.
Yeah.
So this mellowed you down.
Again,
This is mellow, Matt.
the Bulls are plummeting in the standings with 10 games to play, Dave. I can only
Fair.
get so mellow.
Fair.
When you said you had a cup after the game last night, you didn't specify that it was decaf. And I was a little worried for you.
Yeah, I just didn't go to bed last night.
Right,
I just kept drinking coffee, stayed up all night. and
Rewatching the game
Right.
over and
Right,
over
right.
and over.
Kobe.
with all the lights in my place turned off,
Right.
and my,
Veins
like
popping
bloodshot
out of your
eyes,
head.
sitting this close to the television, just pounding cups of coffee.
Is that a vision board? Like, what'd you think of that?
Just rage watching the Bulls lose by 30.
Grayson Allen dartboard just sitting there. I hate it all.
You just gave me a great idea.
Oh, a Grayson
Why have I
Allen
not
dartboard?
put a picture of Grayson Allen's face on my dartboard yet?
Yeah, man. Why haven't you? You are slipping. Well, maybe because you
Low-hanging
don't want to.
fruit.
You didn't want a picture of Grayson Allen.
That could be it.
be
Man
a
does
thing.
not deserve to
Yeah,
be in my house.
it was your birthday last week, yeah, Matt.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So look, well, I was thinking. I think Dave, Will, and myself, we need to get together and we need to get you like a ticket to like a smash room or a break room. Do you guys have those over in Chicago? Like, you need like an unlimited pass to one of those things. Maybe we can build one in the CHGO studios there, whereby you just have just a little room with some stuff in
We
there.
have a
You just
spare
go in
room
with
over
the
there.
buttons,
We can
break
just-
shit.
Get like an
We need to get
amusement
you one of
park
those.
kind of fast pass, but just for a room
Right,
where you're
just
allowed
you.
to break everything in the room.
Dude, no, Mark is on to something. He's absolutely 100% correct. That is a perfect
yeah.
gift for you.
All
Release
right,
that tension, man.
Google
Yes,
a break room.
We're on this, sir. Like, this is gonna happen. This is gonna go down. He's right.
Oh.
Wow, that's perfect for you, man. And then you'll be there so many times. They'll see you. They'll be like, "Oh, right this way, Mr. Beck. Your room is ready."
I don't want to be the norm of a place where people go there to break
Hey,
shit
man,
because they're
I would
angry.
rather
we
you
got
be the
the,
norm there.
You don't want to be the norm at that
I'd
kind
rather
of
you
a-
be the norm there than the norm of the guy at the bar who's always got his head on the bar because he's just angry and drunk.
We got the rage room here.
Yes,
It's only a
man.
couple
Hey,
miles.
Oh my
Look
god!
at
Should we get a sponsorship?
Yes.
Oh, let's do it. Oh, team working together.
I did not even know
Mark
that
Kay,
was a
genius.
thing. I didn't know that.
Oh,
that
it's a
was
thing. Oh, you didn't know?
Execution.
No, it's a real thing. No, Ray's room's a real
yeah.
thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Ooh, guys, breaking news.
Ooh,
Breaking news. We got breaking news,
We have
Mark.
a Woj bomb?
Shams says Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving will be cleared for home games in New York City on Thursday. change private sector vaccine mandate to allow exemption for athletes and entertainers in the workplace. Unvaccinated Yankees and Mets players also eligible for home games.
Wow.
So Kyrie,
that's
Kyrie is
huge
a
for the Eastern
full-time
Conference
player now.
playoffs.
Wow, that changes everything. Wow. That changes so much, man. Wow. Kyrie is full-time, man. That's scary. The last time we saw him, he was dropping 50 on people. Like, yeah, that's gonna be tough and scary, man. Like, wow.
No, thank you, please.
Yeah. About playing him? No.
No. also about lifting that rule. No, thank you,
Oh, yeah.
please.
I feel you.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Exactly.
I'll leave it at that.
Right. I think they did it just because the Yankees weren't doing it either. I think that's something. I don't think they do it for a Brooklyn net.
I mean, even if Kyrie were still in that situation where he, in certain road arenas wasn't allowed to play and was not allowed to play at home, still didn't want to face Brooklyn in the first round. But that was more of a worry when the Bulls were still flirting with landing one of the top seeds, and now we've seen Brooklyn be like, okay, well they'll probably get out of the play-in, but they're going to be 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to worry about Brooklyn until if you somehow miraculously get out of the first round, and then being on the same side of your bracket.
Let's make sure we get out of the play-in first. That is not
right
a guarantee at this point.
Hey, Mark, how did you feel about the Nets? Like even without Kyrie, what was your mindset on the Nets?
Well, mate, they've got Patty Mills, so they're all good. They're all good. The heart of a champion, Patty Mills. Like that team's winning a championship because of that man. So, look, I'm not claiming Kyrie. You guys can have him. He's a fake Australian. But shout out to Spook in the chat here. I see you, my Australian friend. But look, this is going to be interesting. Like I still think they need Ben Simmons, to be honest with you. Like I still question their defense, but at the same time, if Kyrie and Durant just go absolutely ham in the half-court offense, then I don't really care who you are. Like, there's no stopping that. So there's no stopping their offense. It's just whether their defense can hold up, I guess. But this is huge. This potentially changes the scope of the playoffs. So, not ideal.
Breathe.
Well, good for Kyrie. Congratulations. We wanted to talk about the Bulls bench production last night and sort of the trend of the Bulls bench production this season. It has been a problem more often than it has not. Last night, outscored by the Bucks bench 43-27. I've seen worse spreads than that from the Bulls bench, and I've seen better. The Bulls bench shot 9 of 27 last night for a solid 33% from the field.
Okay.
And again, we talked about it at the top of the show, everything started to go south at that 3.5-minute mark of the first when Billy started going to the bench. So it was 20-20. Pat and Kobe check in. Then shortly after that, DeMar comes back in after a short break, subs out Zach. Tristan comes in for Vooch. The first quarter ends 33-20 after being 20-20. And then Billy goes back to his starters at the 8.5 mark of the second quarter. By the time he goes back to his starters, Bulls down 43-24.
Yeah.
That second unit got shellacked. What can we do differently? Do you want to see Billy change up the rotation yet again, Mark? What do you see with this Bulls bench right now?
Yeah, so look, for me, I understand why Caruso's gone into the starting unit. That makes some sense to me, but to me, this was like the entire risk of putting Caruso into the starting unit, because then all of a sudden, now with Pat back, you've got 3 really inexperienced dudes in Io, Pat, and Kobe coming off the bench. If things go bad, then you're relying heavily on those 3 to create for you on the perimeter. You've got Tristan Thompson in at center, who we'll talk about later on. I don't think he's very good. We'll come back to that later on. But then it just creates a lot of responsibility on DeMar's shoulder to really sort of, I guess, carry that second unit. And that's effectively the rotation that Billy's going with at the moment. Like his bench isn't really deep at the moment. Derrick Jones Jr. has been shelved. In shuffling Caruso into that starting unit, you're effectively making that second unit really inexperienced. So when you do get shell-shocked in those moments like they did at the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter, there's no real veteran leadership or anyone that matters, at least on the perimeter, to really guide that second unit. That's why, DeMar coming back in is a necessity rather. But if we think back to earlier in the seasons, like those second units at times had DeMar, they had Lonzo, and they had Caruso out there. Like that's why that second unit was so potent and so strong, because it was more of an experience thing. So coming back to what we were talking about before, whether you need like a goon mentality or whether you need execution or veterans or anything like that, to me, it just comes back to the whole, understanding how to play the game. And maybe that speaks to what you were saying before, Dave, around, learning how to, work through these moments and and it being a process and these sorts of things. But for guys like Io, Kobe, and Pat, like they're so inexperienced. So I just don't like the idea of pairing them all up because it just puts a lot of pressure on like Io's shoulder, for example, to really run that second unit. So I don't like it. I would still be bringing Caruso off the bench for that reason. But, this is where being without Lonzo really hurts.
Who do you think, Mark, on that bench, do you need to see that growth from for this bench to actually do something? Is it Kobe shooting? Is it Io's playmaking?
Yeah.
Like, who has to be that one?
No, well, to me, Kobe just looked out of sorts last night. He did not look ready at all. Like, I mean, this is year 3 for Kobe. He looked like a rookie last night. I can expect that from Io. I can expect that from Pat, it being his second game back in his second season after missing huge amounts of games. But for Kobe, we just can't afford performances where he's that bad offensively. Fine, you're gonna have times when you're not scoring the ball, but you referenced that turnover that he had before, Dave. Like, he just looked like he didn't belong yesterday, which is unfortunate because he's had obviously really good games throughout this year. But I don't know, like Kobe just can't afford to do that. The Bulls can't afford that because he's one of the guys who can come off the bench and actually score. Like everyone else on that bench is probably more a defense first guy, I suppose. The Bulls really need Kobe scoring. They need his 3-point shooting, but that seemingly has just disappeared against the Bucks. He was really bad at the last time the Bulls played the Bucks. He was bad yesterday. You can't have that game.
Somebody mentioned that Kobe's. I think. Sorry, Mark. I think I saw somebody mention on Twitter last night that Kobe against the Bucks in those 3 games this season is like 1 of 17 from behind the 3-point line. And Io's gone cold too recently. You talk about them needing some kind of scoring production and not just defense guys off the bench. Kobe and Io have both looked young and tired, or just like their shots have both gone cold recently, and it's not a great time in the season for both of them to go cold. You can maybe survive one of those two guys going cold, but they've both looked hesitant recently with their shots. Drive and maybe they pass up a mid-range, or they're in a catch and shoot situation, and they pass that up and instead try to penetrate. Like I don't know what's going on with Pat and Kobe and Io, but we need them shooting and making.
It sounds super obvious, but like this is the problem with getting injured. Like Lonzo hasn't played, Pat just coming back, DeMar has had to do everything and more for this Bulls team. Zach is not playing 100%. Caruso, like I don't think people have really talked about it. He is clearly not 100% healthy. I think he's shooting like 25% since coming back. They just don't really have anybody who can take on that burden that Mark is talking about to sort of spell DeMar. And even just like help him while DeMar is still on the court. Vooch has been playing pretty good lately. I really am glad to see he's actually shooting the ball, and not just passing up jumpers or looking to kick it out right away. Like even if he's missing, he needs to keep shooting because somebody has to do it. It can't just be DeMar at all times, because as good as he's been, like he is a human being. He cannot like take 35 shots a night and continue to shoot 55%. Like the Bulls clearly, that's not sustainable, and they need somebody else to step up. This is the difference between being, a top 5, top 10 offense and being, in the bottom third.
Come on with it, Will.
He is a human being. He is not a meat popsicle. Shout out Fifth Element. Look at all this love Mark K's getting in the comments. Bulls Nation loves Mark K.
Yes, they should.
Shout out to my man Guilty. I love that man. Hey, I hope you're well, mate. But look, just coming back to it, like, I mean, I think there are rotational issues that Billy needs to fix. Like, if we want to talk about things that Billy can control, I don't like the idea of pairing all your young guys in one specific unit. And if we're talking about DeMar looking more human of late, that makes his life in that second unit so much harder when he needs to carry that entire burden in that second unit, particularly if Io, Kobe, and Pat, who's like, we know Pat is going to be a timid dude who's not necessarily going to look for his shot. Kobe can get his shot, but on nights that he doesn't have it, like that becomes problematic. We talked about Io's cold stretch. Like if those dudes aren't doing anything and you can't rely on Tristan Thompson to do anything on offense, that just makes DeMar's life so much harder. And if he's already dealing with his own issues, his own slump, let's say, I just don't like the balance of that starting unit. And like, yes, maybe Caruso deserves to start over Io, but I feel like you can mask the issues better if Io is slumping by having him in that first unit, whereby you can sort of defer to a Zach or a DeMar or a Vooch or whatever it may be. So I think I don't like the change. I didn't like it instinctively. I didn't like the change. I would go back to it, but time will tell. But it sounds like Billy wants to keep Caruso in that starting unit.
It's about how you stagger it too. So like when you bring in those three
Yeah.
guys, to Mark's point, with DeMar has to do pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Vooch came out a little bit early so that he could come back in when Zach came back in. And then those two can be sort of tethered together. And this would all be completely different with Lonzo in there.
Yeah,
Who's another guy you can like trust to be like somebody who touches the ball a lot and makes good decisions.
Right.
So again, it's like super obvious, but these injuries are really like the effects of the injuries are really stacking up where it's not just like guys are out games, but now guys are tired from having to carry extra load and young guys are hitting a wall or whatever it is. Like just things are not sort of clicking for everybody. And when it's missing from everyone at the same time,
Yes.
that's when things start to look really
Yes.
bad. To Mark's point, you can handle it if, Kobe is having a cold
Right.
shooting night or if Io's like a little out of sorts. But if everybody is playing like this at the same time, it's impossible to overcome because of that margin for error.
Yeah, we saw it early on in the season when Vooch was going through his thing, and when Kobe came back and he was going through his thing. It didn't affect you so hard because everybody else was otherworldly at that point in time, especially DeMar DeRozan. So, yeah, I think what's happening to them now, people thought was going to happen to them early in the season. And, like you said, that time kind of catches up with you, and nobody can really outrun that kind of thing like that. It's going to catch you at some point in time, and playing these elite teams who now are game planning for you, like DeMar DeRozan's name is now
and
up on the chalkboard right
and
now.
it's too bad because I think it diminishes a little bit from the whole picture of his season. Like I think right now we're in a place where like the first 60 games are still more present in our mind. But if he continues to like have 20 game sample at the end of the season where there's recency bias and like, does that affect his like all NBA team where he falls?
I was listening to today's Low Post
exactly.
with Zach Lowe and Kevin Arnovitz, and they were talking about exactly that of, DeMar's incredible start to the season, but this sort of downturn a little bit. We were talking a month ago about DeMar DeRozan, first team All-NBA.
Yeah.
Like damn near lock
All-star
it in,
starter.
first team
All-star
All-NBA.
starter,
He was an all-star starter. Is he going to finish top 5 in MVP voting? And now it's like, does he
like-
make All-NBA third team?
Right.
Some people might still vote him second. First, out the door.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with like how I've been talking about the Celtics too. Like the narrative changes as the season progresses, and the Celtics are playing really well right now. The Suns have somehow managed to like weather all these injuries that they're having. But like as the season changes, you need to be willing to like update your thoughts about how the Bulls stand. And I think with DeMar playing the way that he is right now, still very good, but not super elite.
Right, correct.
And with other teams like getting James Harden and, now Kyrie's allowed to play, like these things change. And I think that's what is making me a little, I don't know if like skeptical or uncertain about the Bulls and their playoff run here, but they don't seem like they're in a good spot as a collective unit.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm not going to touch the MVP DeMar stuff because I've made half the fan base mad. And they're already mad at me about that. But yeah, to Will's point, like, and speaking or thinking about, generally what you need in the playoffs, like you need and this is historically speaking, obviously there's outliers here and there, but you need that top 5, top 10 guy. The Bulls had that for the first 50 odd games with DeMar. They don't have that right now. Does that change going forward? Hopefully. But that's, we can boil this down to a different million reasons as to why things have gone off the rails for the Bulls. But at the moment, they just don't have that guy. Like that matters to me more than anything else that we've spoken about today. Like you just don't have that Giannis level guy, like who was trucking the Bulls yesterday. You can't go to someone like that. And particularly with Zach being hurt and ailing at this point, it doesn't seemingly he's not going to get better. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem that they have to work through. But I don't think we should be too surprised if things don't go favorably in the first round of the playoffs, assuming they make that.
Well, on that uplifting note, Big Dave, why don't you hit us with the PointsBet one more time?
How about I hit them one more time and bring the people right back to where they need to be? Because if you're enjoying CHGO and you're enjoying this podcast as much as we are doing it, one way to help us continue to grow is to download that PointsBet app and use that code CHGO when you sign up, because not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but you can make a $50 first-time deposit and you'll receive that free CHGO membership, which unlocks all the web content. You'll even get that free t-shirt, and you'll get it from your choice from that CHGO Lacha. And in case you missed it, online sign up. It's available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now, register from your account from start to finish, all from your phone. You don't have to leave. You can do it right there. You'll be signing up with the fastest sports book, easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life. And guess how long? In seconds, Will. In seconds. In seconds you could do it. So what are you waiting for? Because once that game starts, you don't just bet. What you do, Will?
This is how you do it, Mark. You live your bet life.
With PointsBet.
So simple. So simple, Mark.
Should we lob it up to him again?
Gotta do it.
It's all right, man. No, you 0 for 1. Don't worry. You're getting the ball back again, baby. I'm a passer. I'm a passer, man. I'm going to involve everybody. That's how it works.
Speaking of
sorry to say that, Will, but yeah, it did suck compared to Dave.
Speaking of involving everybody, Billy Donovan has not been doing that with Derrick Jones Jr. over the last 2 games since Pat Williams comes back.
He's a legend.
He's a pro.
Mark K, let's kick it to you first here, man, because I've seen a couple of your threads recently about playing Tristan versus getting DJJ back in that rotation spot when you talk about what you're expecting Tristan to offer you and what he actually has been offering you recently. So what are your thoughts when it comes to this?
Look, I've got many thoughts. And our guy in the chat here, Isaac, is asking, well, why don't the Bulls play Derrick Jones Jr.? And I think it's a fair question. Like, I don't understand why Tristan Thompson is getting minutes at this point. It's like, he was brought in to provide physicality. He was brought in to provide, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, rim protection, those sorts of things. Are we getting that at the moment? To me, I don't see that at all. To me, he looks like a washed-up player who should be at best a third-string starter at this. A third-string player within your rotation. He should be getting the Tony Bradley role at the moment rather than being the backup center. And why I just never really liked this acquisition at all was it just goes away from the identity that the Bulls had started to build. Like, they were this small, versatile, switching type team, or at least have that capability to be that. And they found something, I think, with Derrick Jones Jr. at center. Like, Derrick Jones Jr. is not a small forward. I don't like him at power forward. I like him at center. Yes, you're going to give up size. You're going to give up rebounding. But whatever you give up, you potentially make up in a lot of different ways. And if we think about who the Bulls were previously, they were getting it done in transition. They were playing, or like we saw against the Raptors, they were using their defense to fuel their offense. That disappears when you have someone like Thompson at center, who's not necessarily giving you that those defensive vibes that the Bulls had initially. So if you're not getting, those rebounding traits, you're not getting that physicality, you're not getting that rim protection, then why are we still leaning into this Tristan Thompson experience when he's not good? He's bad. Let's go to Derrick Jones Jr. at center because he gives this team something that at least gets them back to their identity as to who they were before. Like, the Bulls had 29 points off turnovers the other day. I think they had 14 against the Bucks. They had they had 13 points from the free throw line against the Bucks yesterday. At one point, they only had 2. They need to find easy avenues to score, getting out in transition. This is who the team is. Playing small is who the team is. Yes, they're going to give up size, but at this point, who cares? Go back to who you were. Bench Tristan Thompson. He stinks. He's not giving you what you need. So that's my hot take.
Tristan's such a guaranteed cash bucket at the free throw line, Mark. Oh, wait, no, he's not.
I disagree with him being trash,
you guys
but
know
that was
that
awesome.
I think I have decided that I am with Mark on this. I say,
really? I don't know.
I say I liked small ball DJJ at the 5 earlier this season when the Bulls were strapped.
Absolutely,
I liked it, and I'm with Mark on that. It plays to your team's strengths. Play fast, play small ball, get easy buckets in transition.
I agree.
Have a versatile, switchable defense. Tristan doesn't really give you any of that. That's where I stand. What about you guys?
Well, I had a question, Mark. Do you think the reason we haven't seen that is because of health? Is because Lonzo isn't there? Do you think that's one of the reasons we haven't seen that lineup?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's it. I mean, if that's the reasoning, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. I just think, I just assume that they felt like they needed a bigger body. Like, they obviously hoped Tony Bradley could be that. He clearly hasn't been that. Derrick Jones Jr. isn't a bigger body. They felt like they needed to get that guy in. Obviously, Tristan Thompson was the best way to go about that, or at least the cheapest way to go about that. You don't necessarily have to give up anything to get him through, I suppose. So I think it was more just them thinking they needed that type of player to really cement their second unit. But I just completely disagree with that. That idea. I don't think it makes sense to me. So I don't like it. I'm going to keep complaining about it.
I think there's value in having big bodies out there. Like, I think people hate on Vooch a lot because he has to guard 2-on-1, and like that doesn't always work out for him because the way that the help and point of attack defense has been struggling. And so just being big and like having your hands up and like taking up space in the paint, like that is valuable. And I think that's kind of where, in theory, Tristan helps you. You know, you'd like to think he can move his feet, and he's like the size that you would want somebody to be if you're trying to guard Giannis. But the way that he defends is like, it's not helping in the way that he's supposed to. He's like, he's backing off and allowing Giannis to like get a full head of steam.
He isn't showing a lot of resistance.
And he's like not taking up the right space in the paint.
Right.
He doesn't protect the rim at a super high level. I just don't think he, and Mark, the Bulls did give up something to bring him in, which was like salary cap next season. So I do think this is like a significant, this is not like an insignificant acquisition. And then on top of it, you're benching Derrick Jones Jr., who is making $9 million on an expiring contract that you should have traded because he's not cracking the rotation. Like that was an asset that they could have used at the trade deadline. So I do think there are a lot of like opportunity costs with this, on top of the fact that he's just not playing very well.
Yeah, and
No,
I think
you make a great point. I was fuming during that game at one point, thinking, why did we give the biannual exception to this dude? Like, you just remove that possibility of using it next season. We're using it on Tristan Thompson to give him an extra, $250,000. Why are we doing this? That's a fair point. That's a good point. But, getting on my soapbox again, and this is a topic that, for whatever reason, I'm really passionate about, maybe because I am a Vooch apologist, but like, where are all the people blaming the drop defense? Like, have you seen Tristan Thompson play defense? This dude is dropping back further than Vooch is. To Will's point, like, he was letting Giannis just get a complete head of steam driving to the basket. Like, if the point is just to have a drop big play like that, let's just play Tony Bradley. Like, the idea of Tristan Thompson was he would be a little bit more, I guess, versatile on defense. He could get up to the level of the screen. He could maybe switch some. He ain't doing any of that. Put Derrick Jones Jr. in. This guy stinks.
Just to tack onto that,
I love how that's the tagline every time at the end.
Just to tack
so
onto it.
we're gonna do things like that. And I hope he goes in. This guy stinks.
The TLDR here is this guy stinks.
I love it.
To Mark's other point though about being really small, I think in general it can be a more like frightening proposition to have like 4'6'4" guys out there and Derrick Jones Jr., who's 6'5" at the 5.
Yeah.
But if you play him in lineups with Pat Will at the 4,
Correct.
now you have a little bit more size. You can like attack closeouts and scramble in rotations a little bit more easily. I think I've been saying it all along. I like the small ball. Give me Pat Will at 5. Give me DeMar at 5. Give me Derrick Jones at the 5. Like I want to see what they can do with those lineups because that is really like how they've built an identity this year. And when they beat the Raptors, they were doing that. And Billy was talking about how great it was to have found their identity again. And then last night happened.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that though, like because again, Billy Donovan's not beholden to anything, so I think you'll see that going forward at some point in time. But it's got to happen soon, man, because Billy, it's looking ugly out there.
And I've said it before, like I do think there's probably a time and a place for somebody like Tristan Thompson, but I don't think it was like guarding Giannis, and I don't think he has done anything to like earn regular minutes in the rotation.
He'd just be better than Tony Bradley is what it is.
Yeah, that's a low bar.
This guy stinks. I got you, Mark. I got you. Don't worry.
I think, for the most part, we are all of like mind when it comes to maybe going back to small ball a little bit to try and play to your team's strengths. And again, Billy Donovan is very, very much so a small ball coach in the NBA.
I have no issue with changing lineups at all. I haven't from the beginning.
And
do it.
There are some people out there who are like, well, bring back the Vooch and Tristan Thompson Twin Towers lineup because we're getting killed on the boards every night. And it's like, no.
Who said that?
Terrible. Oh, they're out there.
Oh, okay.
I saw them in our comments last night.
Oh, those comments were amazing.
And look, did the Bulls get outboarded by the Bucks last night?
Yeah.
Yes, significantly.
Correct.
They have tapered off a bit, but after tapering off a bit, the Bulls are still 8th in the NBA in defensive rebounding percentage. 8th.
And it's
with all of these small ball lineups that we've played, 8th. They have been top 5 most of the season.
It's because Vooch is really good at boxing out. It's the same thing we saw with Robin Lopez years
Say
back.
it
Like
freaking again, Will.
whether he's getting the rebound himself or not, he changes. He's like incredibly good at boxing out and making sure that the team gets defensive rebounds.
Nah, Vooch sucks. This guy sucks. It's just you borrow Mark's line. I'm so glad we have another Vooch, not Stan,
Yes,
but just
yes.
Vooch. What do we call it?
Appreciator.
Appreciator.
Truther.
Yeah.
A Vooch truther.
I'll take that.
Vucanon, that's me.
Yeah,
Head of Vucanon.
So, yeah.
Nah, this guy sucks. All right, let's get out of here. 6 o'clock Chicago time. Everybody go have a nice dinner. Collect yourselves. Collect your thoughts. A few deep breaths tonight. Get a good night's rest.
He's talking to himself.
I'm talking to myself and to our fellow stressed out Bulls fans.
Yes.
We'll come back tomorrow for Bulls Pelicans. The road trip continues. We got pregame here right at CHGO Sports channel on YouTube. Pregame 6:30, tip 7, right? I believe.
7, you're right.
And we'll also be here for postgame as well. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter. Will's at Won't Gottlieb. Dave's at BowBAWL Sports. I'm at Bulls_Peck. Our pal Mark K is at MK Hoops. Give it up for Mark stopping by, everybody.
Land down under.
We are at CHGO_Bulls. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you aren't already. Hit that like button if you enjoyed our episode for you today. Shout out finally to our producers Joey and Lawrence hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys. That was some epic shit Joey did at the beginning of the episode.
That was amazing, man. That
well
belly
done,
crawl was
Joey.
the best.
Well done. All right, Bulls Nation. Until next time, we love you. We appreciate you. See you, Red. Be good.